This program is presented by the Associated General Contractors of America. On a construction site in America today, someone will be injured. Work will stop as co-workers rush to help. Only later, after the initial crisis has passed, will reality set in. The contractor has lost an experienced employee. The employee struggles to recuperate in a world suddenly filled with workers' compensation and medical bills. And co-workers wonder, how did this happen? Could it happen to me? Nobody wants to be injured. Nobody wants an accident to happen. As a contractor, you have a moral obligation to provide a safe working environment. But when it comes to safety on the job, the hard truth is that much is taken for granted. In this program, we're going to examine the real cost of injury, the direct and indirect cost, the obvious and the not so obvious ways that the bottom line in an otherwise sound company can be affected. Our goal today is to persuade you, the individual contractor, that you can't afford to be without a safety program.
I'm a firm believer that safety works.
Safety is going to generate profit.
Investing some money into the safety program will give you immediate results, returns like you never imagined in the long run.
In 1970, medical costs directly associated with workers' compensation came to $700 million. By 1994, this figure was $18.9 billion, a 27-fold increase, which amounts to a 15% average annual increase. We can expect the same kind of dizzying escalation in the future. With the construction industry employing over 5 million people, it becomes increasingly clear that these costs must be avoided. Safety has a tremendous and largely hidden impact on your profitability. To remain viable, you need to track and control your accident and employee injury rate the same way you control your other costs. Let's look at a case involving an employee. Bob Armstrong heads a medium-sized construction firm. Several years ago, an accident took place at one of the company's job sites. We spoke to him about the experiences he had following the accident. Could you describe the accident?
One of my long-term employees took a fall from a ladder that wasn't tied off.
What were the costs associated with that single accident?
Well, you know, there were a lot of costs. I have a sheet here that summarizes them. Is it okay if I read from it?
Sure.
Well, insurance pays for medical expenses, lost work time, and disability. Yeah, in my case, the cost to the insurance company under workman's compensation, $7,500. But, you know, it was the out-of-pocket cost that really opened my eyes. Production loss of the injured employee for 3 weeks came to $8,500. Overtime cost, or the cost to replace the injured employee for a few weeks, $4,000. Workers' compensation increase, $2,600. Overhead, $1,000. Cost of foreman's wages for 2 days connected with the accident, $250. OSHA fine, $1,000. Now, the total cost of the accident, $24,850. Now, $7,500 was covered by insurance, but boy, $17,350 came out of my profits. But, you know, worst of all, you know, my employee really suffered because of this accident. And, you know, so did his family.
Let's take a moment to look at these costs, which are typical to construction firms. In this category, we find medical expenses, workers' compensation payments. Less obvious but potentially heavy costs include property repair or replacement, scheduling delays due to lost time during rescues, potential fines from local, federal, and state regulatory agencies, litigation expenses, production loss, training replacement workers, delays due to follow-up investigations, inspections, and OSHA involvement, overtime costs for lost time, increase in workers' compensation premiums, clerical and administrative costs. Can you tell me, Mr. Armstrong, how your attitude has changed since the accident?
Well, you know, before the accident, I thought insurance covered these eventualities, and I thought it was up to the workers, him or herself, to see that they avoided injury. I saw a safety program as, an unnecessary burden.
And after the accident?
Well, you can't argue with numbers. You know, the balance sheet told the story. My experience modification rate shot up, my premiums doubled, and morale was low company-wide. There were people who depended on me, and, well, one of them, a good worker that I depended on, was in the hospital.
If an unsafe workplace is an unprofitable workplace, there's only one realistic and effective response: a comprehensive safety program. How do you find out how to establish a safety program? The AGC has a model standard safety program you can follow. But what makes a safety program work?
A company must have a passion for safety at the top of the organization. If that doesn't exist, then that company is not achieving everything it can achieve in safety in the workplace. If the worker in the workplace knows that the CEO, the owner, the manager of the company, the head guy is devoted to and has a passion for safety, then that worker feels assured and he will begin to cooperate in that safety initiative and himself be safer because he knows what the expectation is, that there should be no accidents in the workplace.
The responsibility really falls on everyone in the company. It's a company-wide responsibility from top management on down to all field personnel.
A successful safety program comes at you in a package that includes many factors. It has to have all the elements of good tools in the workplace, good training in the workplace, indoctrination of the new worker when he comes in the door, devotion at the top. Safety has to be on the agenda of the management of the company, not some of the time, but all the time. Any meeting held should have some approach, some discussion of safety, even though it's a board meeting. Safety should perhaps be the first topic. Let's see how we're doing on safety.
How do you get the message of safety out to the employees?
We have to have training programs. They have to be on the job site. We bring our employees in, and at least once a week through our safety director or someone that's taken and been assigned the job of safety to train and actually help them in making sure that they understand what safety is all about.
Research has shown, not just in our company, but contractors around the country, that about 90% of the injuries occur with new employees. Inexperienced employees, new to the company, just going out and not knowing exactly what is expected of them. So that is a key element.
I know smaller companies where the CEO, the owner of the company, personally appears and indoctrinates employees, lets them know how devoted he is to safety, what he expects. Frequently expecting, and I hope more people expect this, zero injury in the workplace. That's the only acceptable norm. Any other norm leaves the connotation that you're going to be injured and it's going to be okay. You just can't allow any accidents, and you do that with a philosophy that espouses zero.
Just how do you create an injury-free workplace?
It's got to start with the top management. They've got to implement a program, a safety program, and they have to be serious and they have to enforce it. Fortunately, we have developed, our Safety and Health and Safety Engineers Advisory Committee has developed a guideline for contractors to use, not only for themselves and educate themselves, but also to educate their employees.
This goal of zero lost time injuries, realistic?
Zero lost time injuries is achievable. It is being achieved. I can cite you examples. One owner that I know of worked 4 years with 400 contractors, spent over $2 billion, had zero lost time injuries. You can go look at those workplaces and say, what is going on here that's got these people in an injury-free mode?
Safe working habits are the foundation of a successful company. They're just as important as the right price for raw materials, skilled, dependable employees, and high-quality tools. Another way of looking at it, safety is a basic element of the blueprint for a sturdy building. Competition is one way our society compels excellence from its citizens and their enterprises. The idea that we are running a race, though, might make us ask the question, who's got time for safety when the competition is breathing down your neck? The answer, of course, is to see safety as the way to ultimately win the race, not as a way to simply keep ahead of your competitors. In other words, safe and steady wins the race. By paying attention to the ideals of a zero-injury job site, you give yourself a real competitive edge.
We realized that to remain competitive and to increase our competitiveness, we had to take control of the costs that are the result of accidents.
What costs do you look into?
Mainly workman's compensation insurance. We look at the payroll, we look at the manual rates, and we look at the EMR.
Could you explain a little more about EMR, what it is?
EMR stands for Experience Modification Rate. This is a rate used by the insurance companies to modify a company's workers' compensation insurance premium based on their safety experience. You take your base workers' compensation premium and multiply it by the EMR, and that determines the premium you'll pay. The EMR is figured by looking at the accident rate of a contractor for a 3-year period. The base EMR, the average EMR, is 1. An EMR above 1 means the contractor is going to pay a surcharge on their workers' compensation insurance premium. An EMR below 1 means a contractor is going to pay a workers' compensation insurance premium below or get a discount on their insurance premium. Take two companies. The one with a good safety record may have an EMR of 0.8, while the other one with a poor safety record could be 1.3. For one worker at a $20 rate and a manual premium of $15 per $100 of payroll, the average workers' compensation would be $6,000 for that worker. In this example, the company pays $6,000 times its EMR of 0.8, which equals $4,800, while the other company pays $6,000 times its EMR of 1.3, which equals $7,800. That's a $3,000 difference. Now, who do you think is making the money?
I get numerous calls now in my company from potential owners, even before we even bid a project, about what our safety record and experience modifier rate is. If I don't give these people the right answers, they tell us they don't even want us to bid on the project.
How do you track effectiveness of your safety program?
If you have a good, effective program going on and you have initiated it, then you see immediate drop in those sorts of occasions where people have near misses. First aid cases will go down, and as those go down, the serious injuries drop, and you track that through performance, and you should do it very regularly.
Being a member of the Associated General Contractors of America, we are able to participate in the Safety Statistics Tabulation Program. Through this program, we are able to compare our accident rates with accident rates of companies that are involved in the same type of construction that we are involved in.
Unfortunately, on some construction sites, safety procedures are seen as unnecessary interference with the job that needs to be done. Safety is still considered a nuisance by many people, and its demands are only barely tolerated, if at all. Some contractors will tell you that a hands-off policy is best, and that when things go wrong, as they will sooner or later, you look the other way and then pick up the pieces and start again. But this kind of thinking can only cost you the opportunity to make safety an integral part of your workplace. The new thinking goes like this: safety equals quality equals profit.
I think people need to realize that quality includes safety.
I can pretty much tell what's happening out on that site as far as safety attitude and performance just by looking at housekeeping on a job. If housekeeping is poor, then probably the quality and the safety and some of the other things are going to be poor.
There seems to be an attitude among contractors that needs changing. How do we change that?
I think one of the most important things that a contractor or the employer can do is not only does he, as the owner of this company, have to be very concerned and committed about safety, but he has to tell his employees, "Employee, I care about you." You have to do that up front, not only in the training as far as the safety, but you have to recognize that employee for working safely. It's just, that's the key word in that whole thing, is attitude and recognition. Then that can be changed very easily.
If a good safety program does not have recognition, it's really not there yet. Can't be called a good safety program. Recognition ought to occur frequently and in grand ways. For instance, once a year, why not have a safety banquet and invite all those who haven't been injured or those who've done a job with zero accidents, recognize excellence where it exists, and people become turned on by that, that reinforces the commitment at the top, lets people know that the top's committed. So these kinds of recognition processes are vital.
And I think it's important for a lot of contractors to understand that they don't have to be a large contractor or a larger firm and spend a lot of money in order to get those results and the attitude change. Smaller contractors that will invest in smaller items like the caps and the T-shirts and these different types of items to show their employees that they really care about what's going on and that they're willing to give some money back to them. This does not just stay back in the company. We'll get the same results.
Everyone seems to accept the idea theoretically that safety is important and should never be neglected. But when you're faced with the reality of a deadline or a tough problem, when you're faced with the real world, safety is sometimes neglected.
Unfortunately, that has been the philosophy for quite a while. I think one of the things the employer, the management people have not recognized is the benefit also to the company, but more importantly, the morale of the employees, the better productivity on the job sites. It just makes for a happier family. I can attest to that again from our company because in the last 4 years, we've just seen the morale and the productivity increase by 150%.
Typically, a businessman in America is in business to make a profit. And if they really have that contractor, that owner, has a proper feeling for the impact of injury on a profit line, he can't not work on safety because safety is going to generate profit. If he can have safety in the workplace, he can yield across the U.S., depending on the state you're in, from 5% of labor to 20% of labor by just reducing his safety performance below the national average down to something near zero. There's profit there. And if he's in business to make a profit, why not work on safety? Lots of profit there.
The safety program has really, really increased the morale of our employees.
The return from our workers' comp premium and the results of our safety program has been threefold for the profits of the company and the projects and the safety of the employees. And that really is the bottom line.
We care about people. We don't want them injured. And more than that, we can take and show a profit by not having the high cost of insurance, which accidents and insurance costs go together.
I know of many contractors in the country today that have achieved safety excellence. All we need is for more to join that group and to lower the cost of injury in America and the human trauma that brings with it.
So I take it your outlook is rather bright on the subject.
I think there's lots of hope. I think we'll improve it with the effort of everyone, and we need everyone on board. We need all contractors on board on this.
In this short program, we heard individuals dealing with the same things you wrestle with every day of your working week. The contractors you saw here, and thousands of others, have come to the conclusion that in addition to the priceless benefit of reducing human suffering, improving safety on the job shows indisputable increase in productivity, quality, and time again, a more profitable bottom line.